Hello everybody, and welcome to Greg's Vintage Workshop, where I'm looking to restore history one piece at a time. Tonight we're going to be doing part 4 of the Phillips B5X04A radio that is originally from Holland. That belongs to my son-in-law. In part 3 we did work on the push buttons. The shafts for that, I had to print one out, as well as some other work that we did. Be sure to check that one out if you haven't seen it yet. In part 4, I'm going to recone that speaker that the mice chewed all to pieces, and get that going, and we'll test it. And I'm also going to be working on the back, because the back had a big break in the middle. Well, it's not in the middle, it's over to the right hand side, but it had a big piece missing out of it, and I really don't have the capability of making a new back. I wish I did, but I don't. But I can make a repair for it and try and make it look as factory as possible that I'm capable of. Anyway, without further ado, let's get started. So I've been doing a little bit of work on this speaker, and as you can see here, I have got the cone removed from it. It was all tore all to pieces. Actually, I think it was ate up by mice is what it was done. They had this smaller center cone there. I'm not going to worry about that. I was going to make my own cone because I have that formula, and I did it on that bigger 10-inch speaker early this year. But the actual, I guess you'd call the surround, was all chewed away. And here's the remnants of that piece. It was in multiple sections around the radio. That's why it's out that way. And so I got those cut out, and then I cut this right here with my X-Acto knife. Now granted, it's not perfect, but I went through a lot of cones online before I found one that had the proper depth of about 1.2 to 1.25 inches and a 6-inch diameter, which is this inside these is just slightly less than 6, so I'll probably have to take a pair of scissors and cut it a little flat on a couple of the sides. But I think it'll work fine, and then what I'll do is I'll set it in there. And the spider is perfect in this thing, and the wires are still attached to this section here, so I think I can glue the cone to the remaining section here, and the opening in the cone is 1 inch, which this is smaller than 1 inch. This is like, I don't know, 0.85 or something, but because the remnants of this inner cone are still on there too, I think that the 1 inch will fit on there perfect and give me a good glue surface onto this one, as well as have a little glue shot there to hold it all, and then I can glue it around this parameter, finish cleaning these up, and then put them back and glue those down. That's my plan anyway. Now I got this cleaned up pretty good, and that's the best I'm going to do on this side. This side, I'm trying to determine, it looks, I mean, it's really shiny silver, but it's also got some gold tint to it, so I'm thinking that it was probably yellow cad when it was new, and of course it's like rusted and stuff, which I got the rust off. So I'm torn, because I can either use this premium metallic original chrome on it, which when I've sprayed it before, you know, it don't look like the cap. It doesn't look like chrome. It's just a bright and a nice bright silver. Or I can use this Rust-Oleum metallic, kind of a gold. It's called Brilliant Metal Finish. I'm kind of inclined to go with this one because I think that it might be closer to what I mean, I'm sure it's more yellow cad looking. The yellow cad on this would match this probably closer. I'm not going to paint the coil portion, just the tin portion. And to make matters worse, it's 10 degrees outside, so I can't really spray the paint in the house. I'm not going to fume up the house, but I'm thinking because the paint is room temperature, because it's been in the house, maybe if I heat this up real quick with the heat gun just to warm it, rush it out to the garage real quick, shoot 2 coats on it, and then bring it back in the house to dry, I won't get the fumes in the house as much and can get some paint on it. And the reason I want to get it painted is because the cone is supposed to be here today, so I can get the rest of it together. And my tubes are supposed to be here in 2 days, so if I get this speaker fixed and I get my tubes, we can do a power up on this thing. So let me figure out what I'm going to do with this paint, and we'll come back. Okay, so excuse the background noise. That's my furnace running because it's pretty cold outside right now. I did manage to get this painted. I went with the gold paint. I figured it might look closer to the cad plating that was probably on there. Obviously I didn't bother to paint this side because it's got the spider on there. But it turned out pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it. What I did was I got it as clean as I could get it, and then I took my paint that had been down here in my house and the speaker, ran out to the garage where it was like 10 degrees in the garage, quick sprayed it, ran back in the house with it, put it down here in the workshop to dry, and it seems to have worked okay. This portion here for the magnet cleaned up pretty good. So yeah, and I'm just waiting for my cone to show up. It was supposed to have been here yesterday, but it didn't show up, so I expect it today, and it didn't show up. So tomorrow's Sunday, so obviously I'm not going to get it before Monday. But what I did do while I was waiting was using the truncated cone formula that Don over at Restore Old Radios provided to us a couple of years ago. I created a center cone for this speaker, and it's right here. This is going to be the cone that if I take the other speaker, which is right here, and I also painted it, and I covered the back of the speaker so it didn't get painted. So it turned out pretty good. I've got a printed guard on this that I printed. It has a piece of hard plastic in it, so I didn't put my finger through it. But you can see the secondary cone in there, which I don't know if that's truly a tweeter or whatever it is. But I decided to just go ahead and replicate it. So I did. And that's it here. And I've got a sizer that I printed out to size it nice so that when I go to put it on after I get the initial cone glued in there, which will glue besides the parameter here, it will glue on this larger size. And then once that's glued and set, I'll put glue around the inner side there, and then that will sit in there in the inner edge around the center. And I don't know that it'll make any difference in the sound of the speaker at all. I doubt it, but it makes me feel better that it'll be very similar to this one. So now we're just waiting for the cone to show up. So since I didn't have a surround, I have to wait for the cone to show up that I ordered. So we'll do that. Well, unfortunately, we had a disaster today. The cabinet that I had sitting temporarily on my stool here, I dropped something on the floor, and when I bent down to get it, I bumped it and it fell off and hit the floor and broke into multiple pieces. As you can see, quite bad breaks. It's basically particle board. Gonna have to glue it all back together again, and hope for the best. It's broke pretty darn good. So yeah, not good. Such a idiot sometimes. Okay, so we're going to get started trying to get this speaker back together again. The cone finally showed up. Took 10 days from Florida for the cone to show up, but it finally showed up, and I'm ready to get it in there. So anyhow, this is the cone. Pretty nice cone. Got a nice rubber surround on it. So we're just going to set this down in here. Like that. We're going to center it up as best we can get it centered up. See what it looks like. It looks pretty good actually. Just going to let it fall where it may fall, because what it's actually doing is sitting in the little section here that we left. And I'm going to use this same glue that I used before on that other speaker that I did this crafter's pick, like a water-based super glue. Adheres to metals, plastic, glass, and more. Dries clear. It's also flexible when it dries. So we're going to put a little bit in here. I'm trying a new body mount camera to get you guys a better picture here, but I'm not sure how well it's going to work. Let me get something to come out of this before I try and squirt it on there. Just kind of spread it up. I don't care, and I want it to kind of goosh out so we get full coverage when I set the speaker in there. Furnace just kicked on. It's pretty cold outside right now. That should work. I'm going to let that glue set up, and then I'm going to go back around and do the surround. So I was thinking about it. I decided I'm going to go ahead and put my little secondary cone in there before this glue gets set. It stuck pretty good. I went around and looked underneath and used this little wood spatula just to make sure that it was good and adhered from the bottom side. And so I decided, because I do want to get a little bit of the other glue a little bit on that seam at the tippy top, it'd be better to do it all at the same time. So I'm going to go ahead and put a little more glue in here. Looks like quite a bit, but I think it'll be fine. I did kind of want to make it a little take my sizer out. Looks like it's got pretty good adhesion all the way around there. I think we're going to leave it at that till this all dries, and then I'll do the outer perimeter and bring it back. So I've been working on this back, and it was broken pretty badly through here, and it's still broken pretty badly through here, and I glued what was broken as best I could. But then I decided I was going to make some braces, so I designed some braces to go across there, here and here. But then of course we had that big section that was broken out there, so I cut the broken pieces out so we'd have a nice square. And then I designed the pattern, which took a while, but I got it. That was my first iteration, which was pretty good. And then I decided that I would make it so I could slide it into place. So this was second iteration. I made it slide in place, but then I wasn't happy with the thickness. Then I decided I would just make it thick enough that I could join it to my brace, which is my final iteration, which is what's in place right now. And I mean, it looks pretty good. I'm fine with it, but I don't like it. I keep thinking that I should probably try and reproduce the whole back, but I know my limitations with Tinkercad, and I can do holes, I can do printing. As far as the numbers, I can't reproduce this. I can't reproduce the little lines. I can't reproduce this, or this, or this. So you see where I'm going with this. I can't reproduce a lot of this. But that said, I'm not real happy with this because it stands up from it, right? If you look straight from the back, it's pretty nice, but it stands up. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to reproduce this back from the letters FM here, which I got glare because there's glue here, but there's letters here FM, up. I'm going to reproduce up, which would probably basically be from the top of that speaker picture up. And if I do that, then I can do a clip on the back that would allow me to set that down and keep it flush. And maybe I just do like a short clip on the sides. I don't know. I'm thinking about this as we go here. But my printer bed is small enough that I can't do it in two pieces, unfortunately. I'd have to do it in, I could do like 3 equal type pieces, or I could do it in 3 unequal pieces. So I got to think about this. Like I said, I mean, this turned out pretty well, even on the back. I mean, I could kind of paint it brown. It's got the finish very similar to what the back of this is, and it's not bad on the front. But I don't like the fact that it, it's quite a bit raised quite a bit. So, and I got to keep the same thickness here, which is why I didn't do one bigger piece going across here, because of the clips. I got to keep the same thickness. So that's what makes me think I'd be better off to just, this one's basically the correct thickness, but I think I'm going to have to try and replicate this. I would have to make this piece. I don't have this piece yet, which is the little different pattern here and here. Yeah, I mean, it might be a little bit different. Maybe I don't worry about that piece and that piece, because over here I got a taller opening here that I could probably replicate, but do I really need to? You know what I'm saying? It's not going to be original, obviously, anyway, so I'm thinking I just do the pattern that I've got made and replicate it here, and try and do this in 3 pieces, I think. I gotta figure this out. So if we take this over to the printer, you can see why I say I can't do it in two pieces, because my printer bed just is not. It's almost on my older printer I probably could have done two pieces, but my older printer doesn't have the capability of doing a clean finish the way this one does. Plus my older printer has been outfitted with a different board internally, so it would be a pain in the butt to set up. These two over here do. These two here do amazing work, so we're going to stick with those. And I probably got, between getting the pattern down and then doing iterations, I've probably got 5 or 6 hours in just Tinkercad work alone with these. So to get this laid out into 3 pieces, I'm probably going to have another 3 or 4 hours in that. But I just think it'll look better if I do it in 3 equal pieces. Yeah, I think that's what we're going to do. And then we'll just have the one, once it's, you know, glued together, it'll be one piece. Alright, let me see what I can do with that. Well, I got the back done. It actually, or the new section of the back, I guess I should say. I got the back done. Made it in 3 pieces like I said I was going to do it. I went ahead and I did put the different pieces in there, like this C shape here, backward C shape here. Made sure I got the orientation of it versus the pattern proper on this side, and then on this side over here, it wasn't that pattern, it was this pattern. It was like a tall, wider C pattern with this up and down arrow, which I have no idea what those were. But the section that was broken out was from about right at this edge of these. I think because of that was like weak in that cardboard spot over to about here. So I got that all in there, and I think pretty proper. Pretty happy with it. It turned out pretty good. The other side almost looks just like the texture of the back of the other portion. Got those glued together. I did print out a couple of rails, look like that this will slide into. I'll slide into that, glue into that, and then the other side of the rail will slide over the bottom of the existing back, and all that. That'll all get glued together. And I bought some paint because obviously this is black. The other portion, it looks black unless this black is up against it. And when it's up against it, it makes the back look brown. So I went and bought me some of the darkest brown I could find. Almost looks black, and it's about as close as I can get. I think it's closer than this black. So I think what I'm going to do is, once I get this all glued together, I'm going to spray this with the brown. It's a matte brown, and before I glue it onto the lower back, and that'll be as good as I can make it. I mean, it's all I can do is make it as good as I can make it. I'll show you that when I get it done. Yeah, in this view you can see all the different iterations for the actual radio back that I had to make. I made it in 3 pieces, right hand, left hand, center, but in order to get repeat and get the various changes I had to make, I had to make a few different iterations. This particular screen is showing the various iterations I had to make. These are the braces for the back, the bottom and the top brace. These are the up and down arrows, and the smaller and bigger pieces there, and the basically the middle seam attachment between the top and the bottom here. Another view of it. Okay, so I've got the newly redone speaker connected up to its transformer. right here, and I'm going to feed a 700 hertz audio signal into it so we can test it, and hopefully it'll be loud enough that you guys can hear it. And the way I'm going to do that is I have the negative of the signal generator connected to the electrolytic for the radio, and I'm going to touch the positive signal feed to the pin, I think it's number 7, yeah, 7, which is the plate for the audio output tube that feeds that transformer. And let me get my lead here and see what we can do here. Yeah, so that's 700. Let's take it down to 400. I don't know if you guys heard that or not, but it's there. Let's run it back up to, let's go 900. So if I go and just hold it and adjust it, so looks like the speaker's working, and so hopefully we'll see how it's going to work in the actual radio. But it turned out quite well. I'm very happy with how it turned out. Zoom in here a little bit. I got the surround all on there. I got the outer parameter pieces all on there, and got that little center code tweeter in there. Hopefully that'll work good in there. It should. Okay, so where I just fed the signal in to show you that the repaired speaker appears to be working okay. If we look right here on the output tube for that left channel, it's pin 7, and that's going over to the coil. And then down here where it says to C1B, that's that big electrolytic, and the one portion of that electrolytic. So that's where we connected it, and then that way we could get our signal fed into the speaker. So that's what we just did. Hey guys, I thought I'd give you a shot of how that back turned out. The lighting is not great in here right now. I tried to stand it up so you wouldn't have the glare. You can see the color difference. The brown that I was going to paint it actually was farther off than I thought it was, and I think that from a standpoint of a halfway match, that the black primer actually matches better. Camera definitely makes it look further off than what it actually is, but I think it turned out pretty good. I got a little screw here, here, and here that attaches it to the reinforcement I put in the back. Let me flip it around. Now, the first thing you'll notice when I flip it around is the big color difference between the bottom and the top. And that's because the top obviously was the plastic and didn't absorb, and the bottom is fiberboard and it did absorb. And unfortunately, I can't paint it another coat or two on the bottom until it warms up. It's way too cold outside right now. I have to wait for it to warm up some before I can take it out and paint it. I painted the top portion the other day and brought it in the house to dry, and it just fumigated us out of the house. So even though I didn't spray it in the house, it still fumigated us. So anyway, I think it's going to look really good. This got really bright with that coat of paint once I absorbed it, whereas it was actually about that color originally, and that's kind of why I chose that color, because it was very close. So anyhow, that's what it looks like, and once I get a finish coat on that back, I'll show it to you again. But I think for now, this is where we're going to leave this particular video. And so I thank you for watching Greg's Vintage Workshop.